The normal dialing procedure is to dial left, and then dial right, and then dial left again. So wheel 1 is dialed to the left, wheel 2 is dialed to the right, and wheel 3 is dialed to the left. But when we're doing the manipulation, we may, for example, be doing it all wheels left. And if we get wheel 3, which is the normal case, it's all good because wheel 3 is supposed to be dialed to the left. But if we indicate, for example, wheel 2 first, that wheel is supposed to be dialed to the right. So that doesn't really make sense. It still works, but we'll see that when you dial a number to the left, when it's supposed to be dialed to the right, or vice versa, that they're a little bit off, and you need to account for that. So I'm just going to show that problem first, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to deal with it. So I'm doing a normal dialing of this combination here. So it's 78, that's to the left. And then I pick up 2 wheels and I dial the 24. And then I pick up the final wheel and bring it to 50. Oops, I went a little too far there. Bring that back down. So I deal that to 50. And what you can see here, and I'll just drop the fence in, is that all those gates are totally lined. They're all in a nice horizontal row. But let's see what happens if we were to dial this in the backwards manner. So instead of dialing left, right, left, I'm gonna, you can see I'm turning right. I'm gonna dial them right, left, right. So first number is 78. So let's go to 78. Okay, and then we'll dial, pick up 1, or one wheel, and then the second wheel, and we're going to dial this to 24. And then we're going to dial the final one, pick it up, wheel 3, and we are going to dial it to 50, or just before 50. It's about 50 and a half is the actual number. Now, you'll see that those gates are not lined up. They're kind of all crooked with each other, and that has to do with imperfect flies. And you'll see that it's not dropping in. This combination didn't open up the safe. So that is the problem. When you dial a number to the left, it puts the wheel in a little bit different location than if you were to dial it to the right. So I'm gonna show that again, and we're gonna go through 2 ways of dealing with that. The first way is going to be, you can do it mathematically. If you know those offsets, then you can just add or subtract them from the numbers you're dialing. That's a bit of a problem. I find that difficult to do. You have to know those numbers and make sure that you're adding and subtracting instead of doing the opposite, or otherwise you'll really mess things up. Or what I usually do is I usually just, if I find a gate signature from a left rotation where it should be a right rotation, then I just redo an amplification there with the correct direction. So for example, if I see wheel 2 and I dialed it with an all wheels left, I dialed it in a left rotation, but it should be dialed in a right rotation, I would just re-amplify dialing it in the correct direction. And then there's no math, there's no mistakes, you know you've done it correctly. Let's look at this, these differences here. So I'm going to set all these to 50 as accurately as I can. So there we go, there's 50. So now I'm going to turn it back. We're going to see exactly where it picks it up. Now, you might not be able to see this, but I can feel it happening. So there. It kind of stops there. So that's where the wheel is going to be picked up. And that's at 50. Well, it's actually at 49.5. So it's half a turn, half a number off. It's just a little bit between here and here. So let's continue that around. We're going to pick up, see where wheel 2 picks up, and it'll pick up at approximately 50 again. And remember, this will be different for everybody's lock. If I were to change these wheels around or change the flies around, it would be different for this lock. So you can't use the numbers I'm using. So let's see what happens here. Let's see where wheel 2 gets picked up. So there's 50. That's where you expect it to pick up, but it hasn't picked up yet. Let's see here. That's about it right there. So that is just about 49 and a little bit. So the first one was about half. This was about 2/3 or 3/4. So let's continue around. We've got wheel 2 now. Let's see where wheel 1 picks up. Again, it'll be at approximately 50. If everything was perfect and all the flies were correct and you could dial left and right, then they would all pick up at exactly 50. But you can see they don't pick up all exactly 50. So here we go, we're at 50. Still going, oh, there it is. So it's basically at 49. So that's almost a full number off. So this is actually a pretty accurate one. A lot of people I've seen have said it would be like a half and then 1 1/4 and then 2 on a inexpensive lock. But on this one, it's fairly tight, but it's not exact. So you could use that information of 0.5, 3/4, and probably about 0.9 to add or subtract. So if you do a right rotation and you said, oops, I was supposed to do a left rotation. For the middle wheel, you would have to either add or subtract 3/4. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the mathematical way to do it. You determine those three numbers, then you can add or subtract them. I find that a little bit difficult too. You have to remember if you're adding or subtracting. So if that's for you, you can do that. But what I do is, since you're doing it all wheels left, and it's most likely that wheel 3 will indicate first, that you're probably not going to have a problem with this. It's only for like the second wheel. You may be turning it left or right. But you'll see that when we do efficient dialing, that you'll actually be removing if wheel 3 indicates first, you'll be moving wheel 2 in the right direction anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So let's just see what happens. So if I'm doing all wheels left, and I were to see an indication here at about 24, and I do my high-low test and I say, oh, it's wheel 2. I'd be like, oops, wheel 2 was supposed to be, when it's dialed, normally it's dialed with the right rotation, but I determined the location of the gate with a left rotation. What I would do is, let's just be really, really simple here. All I would do is just re-amplify with a right rotation. So I would do about 25, and then or 26, and I would take my contact points, then I would go back and I would do my right rotation for 25, and then I would go around and do my right rotation checks for 24, and then I would go and do my checks, and then I would go and do 23. And then I would see my gate signature in there, and I use exactly the same way to determine the middle of the gate, and then we'd know what its right rotation is. And it will be 3/4, because that's what we determined using our picking up at 50 away from where it was for the opposite direction. So the simplest thing to do is, if you learn a wheel's location in the incorrect direction, just re-amplify in the correct direction. It's super simple. It'll take you a couple of minutes, but you don't have to think about it and you won't mess it up.